Hi folks, just thought I'd give you a bit of an update on where I'm at with the G60. My last post was more or less about the suspension and some of the modifications we're going to be undertaking. So this is where I'm at with it. This is a standard upper front shackle bush for an MK Patrol 85 model, and this is a standard spring hanger off the G60 steel bush. So what we're trying to achieve is a little bit of maneuverability in the spring. Obviously, a Nolithane bush like so is going to absorb some road shock, probably pretty minimal, but it's going to do something compared to the steel bush being solid. Now, the other thing that happens is when the spring is trying to flex up and down, it's ultimately trying to twist. And when it's trying to twist, it can only twist in the rubber bushing in the eye of the spring. So when you change to the Nolithane bush, it effectively gives the spring a lot more room to, rather than trying to twist the spring, it's twisting the shackle in the bush. So it does make it a little bit easier to flex. So this is where we're at. Standard bush, 33 mil outside diameter. And this is one of the problems I had, was getting the right size tube. So this is a steam pipe, thick-walled steam pipe. It was actually reasonably hard steel compared to mild steel. And that's about 34 mil inside. That end's a bit furry. Just flip it over. So you can see it's quite loose in there. So what we did was, got the old calculator out and measured the inside diameter here and times that by pi minus the outside diameter of the bush times by pi, and that gave me about 9.4 millimeters. So that's what we took out of the wall. I actually went 1 mil or half a mil, smaller in this diameter here to give me the ability to machine it out and true it up. So we cut that out, squashed it up, reshaped the tube and welded that seam with the TIG welder. Then we took it over to the lathe and machined it down to size. I machined the outside down to 38 mil and the inside, it had probably 20 thou resistance, maybe 10 thou resistance of the bush going in. And in fact, it will still fit a stock standard OEM steel rubber bush in there. Quite a neat fit. So then we decided to upgrade the hanger a bit too. So this is 50 by 50 6 mil wall, and we bored some holes in that, fitted the tubes, and it ended up looking like this. So here's 3 of the 4 that I've made. One's technically in the car at the moment. So we resized the sides down just to give me a little bit more meat to weld to. So while we're welding, mainly because this material here is quite thick, and these only being 3 mil wall thickness or 2.8 mil wall thickness that's left there. So when we're tigging that up, I just wanted to make sure I had enough meat where it didn't eat into the side of the tube where the side of the bush is going to be rubbing on. That's a standard length MK front shackle and superior 2-inch extended shackles. Now, most people put extended shackles on to lift their truck. This is what I'm trying to do, is actually the opposite. So I'm quite happy with the height of the truck at the moment. If anything, I wouldn't mind if it went a little lower. And this is the truck the way that it sits now. These are the EFS 3-inch lifted springs that I had in my MK wagon. So the front springs are a stock standard fit into the G60, surprisingly enough. I've already taken, when they were in the wagon, I've already taken a couple of leaves out, front and rear. And when I went into the G60, the G60 being much shorter and lighter, I had to take quite a lot of leaves out, and it was still very, very rough to ride in. And we've had it on some four-wheel drive tracks and noticed that the front was okay, but the rear is quite stiff. But the rear is a whole nother story. The springs are too short. I got them shortened ultimately to fit the car at the time, and it just didn't quite go to plan. So on the left-hand side of the vehicle here, passenger side, we've got a standard shackle, standard length shackle. And on the driver's side, I have just tacked in place the new spring hanger and extended shackle. Now this is under compression, obviously, and that spring is nearly maxed out. It's not quite on the bump stop yet, but I mean, it just won't go up anymore. It's lifting the whole car up once I try and pick it up some more. But what it has done is I've changed the ratio of the activated spring rate by putting the longer shackle in. So when it's all sitting on the ground with the standard shackles and you jump up and down on the bumper bar, it really didn't move at all. It was all tyre. The spring was just inherently too stiff, just with its setup. So with the extended shackle, it's actually softened it up quite a lot, which is what I want. And I wouldn't mind if it actually dropped the car down just a little bit with the deflection of the spring. That way I'm able to actually adjust my height or road feel by putting one or two leaps back in if need be. And worst case scenario is I can always go get the springs reset at a spring joint, Carroll Springs or something like that. So here we go. We got the right hand wheel. It's tucked up pretty good. Like I said, it's not on the bump stop yet. It's probably got about another 70 mil before it hits the bump stop. Which ultimately might end up being the case that we actually have to put extended bump stops in it, or just adjust the mounting, cut it off and re-weld it back on. So we're playing with distance at the moment with this spring hanger. It's not too bad. I'm pretty happy with where it is at the moment, but I think it probably needs to go forward about 5 mil just to definitely make sure that that spring has all the room that it needs to fully extend without damaging the spring, because if they run out of room, it will W the spring. So you can see the left-hand wheel is still on the ground. It's got a little bit of weight on it. And it's got quite a lot of drop. Now, that's pretty good considering it's still got a standard shackle in there. So once the bigger shackle goes in there, it's going to have quite a lot of drop. But when it's on the road, sitting flat, it should still handle pretty good. You know, I haven't got a lot to lose. It didn't really handle that great to start with. It was stiff as a board, and in that respect it had no body roll and things like that. But I think this is going to be okay. Now as for the rear we're going to do the same thing. They're steel bushed as well. So we're going to take them off and put polyethylene bushes in. Get the spring lengthened so it will be closer to its original length, how it was manufactured. And we're going to steepen that angle on that extended shackle. So that is a front extended shackle from Superior, fitted to the back of the G60, which fitted into the stock holder. Not a problem at all. So fixing that angle is going to make the rear ride a lot better. As you can see, I mean, that's got some weight on it and it's not ideal, that angle at all. So that's where we're at with it. And another thing, once I reset these springs, we're actually going to shift this rear axle back about 30 mil. It measures. It's actually too far forward, and it doesn't seem like much, but once that axle goes back, that will help apply some more weight to the front suspension and making those springs just work a little bit better. Okay guys, well that's where we're at. Yeah, quite happy with the progress so far. It's coming along nicely, so hopefully sometime today we'll have that other hanger off and tack weld the new one on and give it a go. See what it's like. Thanks, guys.